Nicole from Co-Creating Today, and on this edition of Cosmic Currents, I will be bringing to you my interpretation of the nodal shift into Taurus and Scorpio. So, cosmic winds are changing, and we have a karmic energy shift in the works. The energy is really palpable at the moment, but collectively something's in the works. We feel it, we just can't quite put our finger on it. But that's the nodal shift. Currently, the true nodes, they're finishing their time in the zodiacal axis of Gemini and Sagittarius. Right now, they're at 0 degrees, and they're going to shift into Taurus and Scorpio on January 19th, 2022. Before we move forward, let's just take a step back for a second and talk about what a node is. What is a node? The nodes, they're points that are calculated in the sky where the path of the moon around the sun, it crosses, it meets up, intersects with the ecliptic plane. And those 2 points are very karmic points in the sky. The north node, it tends to have this insatiable quality to it. It chases gains. It has that Mars-Jupiter quality to it. On the other end of the spectrum, the south node, it has this Pluto-Saturn quality to it. It removes, it purges, and it transforms wherever it's at. The nodes, there are karmic lessons in our life. And as the nodes, they make their 18.5-year transit within each sign in the zodiac. And while they do that transit within the zodiac, they make the transits from one house to another within our charts. So we grow in one area, which is the north node, and we tend to release from the other area, south node. The north node, it's also known as Rahu in Vedic astrology. It does have this reckless quality to it too, I'll add. But it'll chase and look to gain in that area of the chart that it's transiting. The south node, which is known as Ketu in Vedic astrology, it represents an area where we're letting go, where we look to purge and transform on the other area, where it's found within your birth chart as it transits. But the two don't work separate from each other. They work in relationship with each other. And this is, well, actually, after all, in opposition. With the nodes making the shift into Taurus and Scorpio, we basically are, in a general sense, asked to remove what no longer serves us in order to make way for new values, new opportunities. The universe, in doing this, the universe doesn't like a vacuum. So what leaves gets replaced. And this is all for our soul's evolution. So no matter where the nodes go to or are found within our birth charts, we'll get this transition that's happening, gains and release. So with this shift, a house is going to be highlighted in your birth chart. Now, last time that they were there was in the year 2003, 2004. So in reflecting back, what themes echoed back for you then? Take a look at where Scorpio and Taurus are at in your birth chart. Those areas of the houses, those houses will be highlighted. But on a collective level, wherever the nodes are, we tend to see it. It tends to be the prevalent topic in the news, for example. So if we take a stock and look back, the nodes being in Gemini and Sagittarius, we were bombarded with information. But the question is, what kind of information? So the eclipses in part were square Neptune. And with Neptune, it added this layer of confusion, deceit, the fog, the ambiguity, to all the truths and the facts of information that have been presented. Social media files, for example, were being replicated and impersonated. So many of them. Whether you're on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, even robotic profiles were created where you think you're having an argument with a person, but you're literally talking to a robot on the other end of the computer. It's the algorithms that, draw that conversation into your news feed. Fact checkers increased under this influence. Online education, Zoom, all became prevalent and experienced a surge as well. But conversely, on the other end, South Node was in Sagittarius, which represents the truth. The truth was weak. We saw a decrease in international travel. And that was obvious during this time. So, and also deciphering what became legal, what was legal became an issue as well. There, you know, in Canada, they talk about the Charter of Rights, constitutional rights in the US. Upholding these values were difficult under this influence. Sagittarius is also the power of believing. What we believed in came into question, and people just weren't sure anymore. So, pardon me. Gemini in itself just wants the facts. It wants the information. It's a very curious sign in nature. But the processing of that information, we look to the opposition on the other side of the zodiac, and that's Sagittarius. Sagittarius processes that information. Gemini rules short distance travel. The past 18 months, exploring our backyard became a thing, and a lot of people did it out of no choice, really. But this is an example of what, you know, the nodes can bring on a collective level. And this is what, you know, tends to become in the news. Borders within our community were happening, which forced that backyard opportunity. So as the shift goes into Taurus and Scorpio, that news will shift. And you'll see a more financial type of news coming to the forefront. So North Node in Taurus. Well, first of all, the North Node is one of the very few no-fail gain areas in your chart. Gains can happen in all sorts of fashion. And it's often reflected at a personal level by where it's transiting in your chart, that area of life. Where is Taurus in your chart? That area will experience a step up. That area of life can be innovated. Bottom line, the focus is definitely there. So with it currently in Taurus, we'll talk about gains and innovations and all things ruled by Taurus that can be had, and especially on a collective level. Collectively, what are these type of things? Taurus rules earthly resources, for one. It also rules money. So it tells me that the cost of the resources can or will go up. Earthly resources like the things, the food, like our food, which is grown, the wood we use to build our homes, biofuels, to name a few. There's talk right now about inflation, but with Uranus here, the concept of hyperinflation is a definite possibility. Also, seeing that Taurus is the sign that's also closest to nature, the fact that an economy or investment opportunity can all of a sudden arise, where things were once free now becomes a cost to use. And what I mean by this is that Taurus rules Mother Gaia. And for me, the concept of crown land comes to mind. Will this still exist? Will the concept of crown land still exist? Or will it be for sale? The beaches that we once roamed, the ocean coasts, all these things, will they become taxed, like nationals and provincial parks? Will they become privatized? Hopefully this doesn't become private land where there's going to be a fee to be able to indulge in here. Like I personally think of my favorite backcountry hikes, for example. Will there be a cost to use these natural resources that was once free? A place that we sought out for grounding and get in touch with nature in itself. What also echoes in my mind with this transit is the saying that's coming up in the news: "You'll own nothing and be happy." Like, are these ways in this which this can manifest? So when I hear things of sustainability, these push towards this area, this comes to mind. Because the thing is, Taurus, it's the sign that's most closest to the simplicity of nature, of Earth. So sustainability, economy, merge together, right? But it's also innovative ways to make money. And Uranus has been already at work in this area, creating freelancing opportunities for people. The way people earn their paychecks can be by way of freelancing their skills, for example. Now more than ever, Uranus has already been at work here, having us work remotely. Instead of the conventional way of being employed by a company, I feel that perhaps you start contracting out your services. The digitization of the workforce was definitely prevalent when it came to Uranus's presence here. But Taurus also rules the farmer, and it's also gardening. Farmers can become the new kings, for example. And like here in British Columbia, when there was a disruption in the current food supply chain because of, environmental disasters, local farmers were the first we looked to. And this could be something in the future as well. More people can turn to gardening and self-sustainability under this influence. Leap forwards in the economy of sustainability. And this could be for a variety of reasons. And it could be because of the purging the toxicity that resides in our foods in forms of pesticides, herbicides, GMOs, all these things, for example. So I think the value in the shift resides in the simplicity of organic growing, naturally grown food, knowing what's in our food. Because with Uranus here, you can also see like that hydroponic growing. Also newer and innovative ways of growing. And a thing that's coming out is living concrete, for example, for walls, for homes, where we grow gardens, flowers, or whatnot on the outsides. That brings about oxygen through the earth. And by doing that, that also innovates the way we build our homes too, because Taurus is the settler of the zodiac. But going back to currency, for example, in seeing innovations in regard to currency, I want to share a post that I made some time ago. And here, for me, the thought came to mind of being communal again when Uranus was in Taurus. There's talk about digital currency, cryptocurrency, which can be implemented quite suddenly and at lightning speed, because that's definitely a Uranus trait here. And also the fact that Uranus is going to be working hand in hand during eclipse times. Bitcoin in itself can see a gain in value. It is just another manifestation of this. Although by definition, this is forward thinking, progress forward, digital movement forward. I just can't help but pose the question, is that what if progress forward means going back to our roots? And by going back to our roots, I'm not talking about Cancer, where there's, going back to our ancestry, going back to our sense of belonging, but in the sense of returning to Mother Gaia. Because Uranus can definitely create a shift in values here. Because Uranus is also the unexpected. And Taurus does rule over our values. So a leap forward in this area can be had. But fundamentally, I just can't shake this idea that in order to progress forward, we become communal again. And move forward towards a resource-based economy is what I'm thinking. Especially with Pluto slowly eroding Capricorn themes, and Uranus, which is in the service of Aquarius, which is the sign of being communal. Groups of like-minded people coming together for a common cause. This is Uranus and Aquarius. This is its core values. But here in Taurus with the eclipses, the concept of a resource-based economy within a community is high. I say this is highly probable. Especially with all the awareness of increase of mental health issues based on disconnection created by the digitization of the social aspects of our lives. Because we are social beings driven by social contact. And being communal again, creating that, bringing back the social aspect where into humanity where we once thrived in. And there's, the old adage, it takes a village to raise a child. I think this has become relevant again. And especially with the rise of suicide and depression within our children, our teenagers. So Venus over the course of the 18 months will definitely be important. She's what we call in astrology the dispositor of the nodes. And in Cole's note version, she's the ruler of the North Node. So whatever she does over the course of the North Node being in Taurus will be example. So when she switches signs, wherever she is during the eclipses, as well when she goes retrograde. And that node will carry forward the Venusian flavor. And during those moments of the course of the North Node being in Taurus and whatever Venus does making important aspects. These are times to take note of what's going on. But conversely, on the opposite side of the spectrum, what Pluto does is important as well. And it will be the dispositor of the South Node. It'll take on that rulership quality of the South Node. And Pluto is currently and slowly, surely doing its thing in Capricorn. Pluto, as it transited every single sign, it eroded the archetypal meaning that it holds, bringing down to the ashes so that, the phoenix may arise from it. So right now, eroding structures and traditions, top-down structures, systems that have been currently in place that we've been abiding by, making way for new structures, new systems, new traditions. But 2023, she'll dip into Aquarius. And that's going to add a whole new flavor to that South Node. And I feel it's going to be a precursor to Pluto in Aquarius. So that South Node over the course of the time, it's in Scorpio, will carry on both of these archetypal flavors. Now, Scorpio archetypally governs crisis, for one thing. And having the South Node here, which has that Saturn-Pluto quality to this energy, it'll help purge this. It'll help eliminate, excrete that. Because K2 is the tail of the dragon. On all quality, it has this excreting quality. And when we think of it, to excrete, it's to remove everything that's already been digested and served its purpose. So it's no longer needed. It's removed to make way for the new. Scorpio deals with our conscious endings, things that we work through personally to eliminate. Working with a psychologist for once. When working with a psychologist, what I mean by is like we're working, to purge and to transmute that pain and trauma so we can become new again. K2 with the, purging those deep embedded wounds. These wounds can be sexual in nature, seeing that Scorpio rules the sign of the sex. But in essence, it's whatever kind of trauma or criminal trauma that a person has endured. And one thing to know is that Mars will go retrograde at the eclipse at the end of the year in 2022. And it'll be in the sign of the Gemini. So when that happens, women's issues tends to be talked about. With the South Node in Scorpio, we can certainly have some secrets be revealed about women in regards to sexual trauma. Important to remember, silence kills. And Scorpio is about tucking everything underneath that carpet. And this energy will will basically have you take that rug out, beat it with the broom, and get the dirt out. That is, that's that effect of K2 being there. And it'll have this doubling down effect of this healing. Pluto being a significator of this, coupled with that South Node. They're both working hand in hand, and not for some time to come again. Because after all, we're in a trauma-ridden society, and really this is a call for action, for healing, especially with Jupiter in Pisces, and especially the fact that it's going to conjunct Neptune and return to Pisces for the next eclipse season before 2022. Then 2023, Pluto moves on to Aquarius. Healing happens from the inside out on a soul level. I feel this is preparing us for Pluto's transition into Aquarius, where trauma will emerge, transmute, to be healed and purged over the course of Pluto's transition into Aquarius, transiting Aquarius. So crisis can obviously be manifested in a variety of ways. And seeing that Scorpio rules the big money and pooled money, we can definitely see a crisis here. So when I talk about, pardon me. So when I talk about the big money, I'm speaking of stock markets, banks, mutual funds, pensions, all things where money's pulled together and dispersed. That kind of thing. Scorpio rules criminal enterprises. It rules tyranny. It rules manipulation, paranoia, coercion. All these things will weaken under this influence. And seeing what we've been through in the past year, Scorpio rules bacteria and viruses, by the way. Because Scorpio Pluto is pathology. It rules pathology. Pisces Neptune, that's illness. Neptune governs the fact that we get sick from a virus or bacteria. Just so that we're clear on this. So in looking back for a second, in 2020, when we had Jupiter conjunct Pluto 3 times, this blend manifests not in just one way, but a variety of ways. So with the Scorpio ruling poison, bacteria, tyranny, coercion, the big money, to name a few, we definitely saw an expansion in all this. The super wealthy definitely got wealthier, for example. So with the South Node, we can see a weakening of all that. Weakening of the big money, weakening of coercion, poison, bacteria, tyranny, just to name a few, or rename a few. Manipulation will be harder to achieve under this influence as well. I'm personally thinking of these vaccine mandates, passports, for example, vaccine passports being dropped. The coercion to get vaccinated to be dropped. But Scorpio is all about secrets too. So we're just getting a taste of what's been coming to the forefront, a taste of what's to come. So in talking about that big money, just to go back for a second, I just want to go back to the stock market, because with the North Node in Taurus, with Uranus there, being in opposition to eclipses during this time, I feel that a recession and acid bubble collapse is quite high. Stock market crashes are highly probable. Recession is highly probable. Like we recently experienced dips during the last eclipse in Taurus, and I wrote about this in the Cartomancer Magazine September's issue, before it happened. And the nodes were not even in the financial signs yet. Now they are. If it were me, I'd be wise to check on your savings during this energy. Make sure they're safe. Yeah, because things can happen quite quickly and unexpectedly. And one quick mention is that Scorpio rules both taxes and insurance companies. So perhaps our tax structures weaken under this influence is what comes to mind. Because Pluto's eroding structures at the moment. And it's something to think about. But it could also be that the tax money pot, the pooled money, for example, is empty. On the insurance company perspective, they can be inundated with claims. Because Jupiter's in Pisces, and it'll conjunct Neptune like just right before the first eclipse in Taurus and Scorpio. This can bring in an increase in victims as a result of water damages, or water devastations, weather devastations, for example. But it can also bring victims for other reasons as well. Scorpio also rules the riches underneath the earth. The riches like gold, silver, copper, coal, oil, things like that. Things that we mine underground. All these can take a hit and weaken in value. Lava's found underground, as well as crystals and precious stones like diamonds. Mentioning lava. Lava can be purged, resulting in an increase of volcanic activity, especially with hard aspects to Pluto during the eclipses, or hard aspects to the eclipses itself. So it's important to keep an eye out for those type of aspects, and for weather changes during eclipse seasons. Ultimately, the trending topics gear to what these two signs represent archetypally. Taurus Taurus rules the physical body. It rules the 5 senses: currency, food, Mother Gaia, to name a few. Scorpio, on the other hand, rules secrets, pulled money, taxes, paranoia, trauma, just to rename a few as well. So in the news, you'll see more financial type of topics and more of these other related type of topics. Now, a blending of these two nodes, which is the target state of an opposition, because the nodes are always 180 degrees from each other. So we could see something like, and ideally, being passionate, Scorpio, about sustainable living, Taurus. Recycling, Scorpio, the Earth's resources. Collective psyche of wounding being purged to make way for new values. By purging trauma, a person will seek new ways to heal, will seek ways to heal, and doing so increase their self-worth, for example. These are beautiful examples of this nodal shift. Another thing is increasing in Bitcoin, in fall of gold, for example. Those are different things that can happen. But ultimately, the blending of the two nodes, the target state of opposition, is to create harmony and balance. It's an aspect of relationship and, well, to relate. One side of the spectrum relates to another, not the seaside effect. So it's important to know what's happening on each side and not own one side and project the other, which is ultimately something that can happen. So with that information, I invite you to look at your chart, see where Scorpio resides, see where Taurus resides, reflect back on the years of 2003, 2004, and see what themes echoed back then and what subjects and areas of life will come to the forefront again. Because this is the last time Pluto will be in Capricorn, adding that flavor to the South Node when it's in Scorpio. So the structures and the things that have been placed for decades to come within that Scorpio will be transformed. And Venus, on the other hand, what will it add to your value system? Because it's definitely time to reevaluate and evolve. And ultimately, the survival of humanity depends on it. So as we look within and look to heal from the inside out, purge from the inside out, to make way for the new, a new world emerges.